So I wanted to share my testimony, something that I've always thought about putting on video, and with this lockdown and everything, this kind of seems to be the best way to do it now, to get it out there, because most people don't really care to read about it. I've written it down, I've shared it that way before, but to make a video, I mean, people, I'll watch that, especially if it's not too long, oh, it's 10 minutes, I can't watch that. So I'll try to keep it short and to the point. But for those of you who don't know what a testimony is, it's simply somebody telling their story of how they came to be where they're at, whatever it is that they believe. And for me, it's Christianity. It's believing in Jesus, believing that he rose from the grave after being there for 3 days. And so I kind of want to start at the beginning. I was raised in a Christian home. We always went to church. The church that I grew up in was very traditional, to the point where it let a lot of us younger kids away that grew up in that. We kind of left it. We looked at, or the way that we saw things was more religion. We looked at it going, what they're teaching and what they're saying seems to kind of contradict how we're watching them live, because as their kids, we all gathered together and we knew the issues that our parents had, and we were being taught all these different things. And so, some of us stayed and some of us left, and some have never come back. Luckily for me, God pulled me back. He helped me find my way to come back to him. And he helped me see through the mistakes and just the fact that we're human beings. We make mistakes. Not everybody gets it right, especially when it comes to Christianity. There's a lot of people who live it and believe certain things about it, and many of them who haven't even taken the time to look into the Word to see what they're believing is actually true. But for me, I grew up in this way, and I remember at 13, I'd come home from this boys' camp. It was a Christian boys' camp, and I remember I got home. It was really dark, and I was scared. I was scared of the dark. I was scared that I was home alone. I was, I already said it, 13, and I just remember being scared and just going, I don't want to be scared anymore. And it made me think of all the stuff that I'd been being taught at the camp, and how I saw these counselors, and they were just so full of joy, so happy. And even in the midst of tragedy at that camp, there was a guy, there was a dodgeball game, and he ended up breaking his leg. And amidst this time of him breaking his leg and just writhing in agony, while they waited to get an ambulance out there to help him, I remember one of the guys who was there who helped him out came back and told us the story of what that guy was doing. And that guy, he was praying to God. He was just redoing prayers or verses that he had memorized. He was just repeating them over and over, and it was bringing him peace while he waited. And I thought that was the coolest thing ever. That was awesome to me. And to me, it was genuine. It was a genuine joy that I saw on these guys' faces. When we talked to them, there was a genuine joy. And I just thought, that's got to be Jesus, right? And so from an early age, God kind of had a hold of my heart. And I tried to follow him. But then, friends didn't understand what I was doing. I didn't understand what I was doing. It was an issue, because I didn't understand, and I didn't have anybody there who was truly helping me through it. There's so many distractions that this life throws at you, and that's what I was going through. I was going through the distractions and not knowing what to say, what to do. And eventually I just kind of gave it all up and said, it's too hard, and that's the honestly what I did. It was too hard, so I gave up. But I was like, I'm going to keep Jesus and keep God, because that means I'm in heaven, right? And that's how I lived for a while, until I turned 21. And the way that my life had been going at that point was kind of crazy. At 16, I had a child, a beautiful boy, and you know, just the things I went through, that man, having a kid at 16 is not an easy thing to do, especially because you're still a kid. You know, you still don't understand life. You still don't understand yourself. I mean, I'm 30 years old now. I still don't understand myself. So, but anyway, at 21, the way that I had been living had just caused a lot of issues in my life, a lot of uncertainty, no peace. I was getting drunk a lot of times on weekends, doing the party thing, just like everybody else. You know, I'd gotten into smoking pot and getting high, and just basically trying to escape life using these substances to just kind of, I don't know, free myself of the worries of life and these different issues that life throws your way. And just the fact that I didn't have any answers really, to why my life was the way that it was, why I was struggling the way that I was struggling, struggling with girls, struggling with what to do with my life, you know, just those honest to God questions that everybody has when they're, you know, right around that age where they're out of school now, they're working full time, if they're, you know, blessed enough to have a job to work full time. And that's what I was doing. And I remember, thank God for my cousin Ken, who is amazing. Love you. I remember my uncle had just passed away. I didn't know him very well, but my cousin Ken was asked to make his coffin, because he's very skilled with his hands. And so he was bringing it out to the funeral house, and I was living with my sister at the time. I was real close to the funeral home, and so he's like, hey, let's hang out, let's go get some grub. And for the first time, I just felt like I could just kind of pour out all the issues that I was having to him, you know. And it's not something that I didn't really do that stuff. I didn't really pour out, you know, what I was going through with friends. And for the first time, I really felt like I could with Ken, because I knew there was this genuineness that he had, and it just helped me to be open with him. And I just started to share with him all the issues that I was going through. And he just simply laid out some advice that he felt was right at the time, and I followed it. One of the things he said was, I don't care what church you go to, just find one and go to it. And that's what I did. But I want to step further. I decided that I wasn't just going to go to church like I had done, because, you know, Easter, Christmas, and every once in a while I would just go to church, even though I wasn't really following Jesus, and I would just go to get my church in to make, you know, myself feel good. Oh, I've got my church in, I'm good to go. And it just made me feel good about myself, even though there wasn't really any real pursuit of Jesus in that. There wasn't any real life in it, and that's why I was still feeling so empty inside. And so I decided I was going to talk to somebody. And I remember I woke up late because I had been drinking the night before. And the whole time getting ready, getting in the car, going to the church, I kept telling myself, you know, don't go. It's not for you. Once they know all the things that you've done, they're going to look at you differently. They're going to say certain things about you. And I was a half an hour late to an hour-long service. So I remember standing out in the lobby area, and they had the pastor, Brady Nemmers. I remember who it was, Ada Bible Church. He was on the screen, and he was talking about the fruits of the Spirit. That's pretty sure that was it was back in 2011. And I just remember him talking and just kind of standing there trying to listen to it, still really wrestling whether I was going to stay or not, or if I was just going to check out and go and not actually talk to anybody. But eventually I found somebody, and they led me to a pastor who then helped me understand kind of what I was going through. I kind of poured myself out to him. He asked me a few questions, and then the thing that blew me away was when I opened myself up to this guy. Didn't know him. He didn't know me. His name, I'm pretty sure, was, if I'm remembering correctly, Edward Shepherd. Not positive on that. I know his last name was definitely Shepherd, and I'm pretty sure he led missionary teams there at the church. And anyway, he didn't look at me stunned at anything that I had to tell him, any of the sins that I had done. He just, yep, that's what we're here for. You know, that's what the church was made for. It was made to help people who were broken, who were hurting. I mean, that was the whole reason Jesus came. He didn't come for the good person who did everything right. He came for the people who had done it wrong and knew that they had failed, knew that they needed help. And I know I needed help. He brought me back to his office. He read some scripture, asked me some further questions, and just basically tried to get to know me. And I just felt this love, this genuineness that he had. It was like he cared for me even though he didn't know me. You know, it was awesome. It was an amazing feeling, because I hadn't had that before, you know, especially with someone I didn't know. I mean, my parents, you know, you have that, but with him, the fact that he was basically a stranger, and the way that he loved me and cared for me in that moment was amazing. And I gave my life to Christ that day. It was for the first time I actually believed that Jesus was real, and that not only was he real, but that he gave his life for me. That he came to this earth as a child, allowed his own creation to raise him, and then he died for the very people who hated him. And then 3 days later rose from the grave. And I remember in that moment, like, it clicked. It was a moment of just, it clicked. I got it. I hadn't got it before, but I got it then. And I really realized, wow, he did that for me. He did. It was a genuine belief of just, he truly gave his life for me, and it wrecked me in the most positive, most brilliant and beautiful way ever. And I just remember, I'm not a big hugger, and I remember hugging that guy before I left. I just gave him a big old hug, and I remember just leaving, and I was super bubbly and happy. Like, I'd never been that way before. That wasn't my personality. Normally I'm pretty pulled back and reserved, unless you know me and I'm comfortable with you. Then I can kind of open myself up and be a little bit more free to just be myself. But it was an amazing feeling. And I remember I went back to my buddy's house, and we rolled a joint and smoked, and we talked about it. You know, it didn't change my circumstances. What it did is it changed my heart and my perspective. It changed how I saw things, how I looked at the world. And it wasn't like an immediate, now I'm changed. It was a gradual thing. And just as the Bible tells us, it's from glory to glory. You know, you're just kind of living out this lifestyle of Christianity. And that's really what it is. It's a lifestyle. And it's one that's breathed by the very Creator who gave us the life in the first place. So really all I did was say no to living a life that was never intended for me to live in the first place. And I said yes to living for Jesus and living for a life that he had always created for me and always wanted for me, despite the brokenness of this world, you know. And through a lot of stumbling, a lot of failures, and really just diving into the Word and searching for Jesus through His Word and through prayer, through other people who've come and gone in my life, I've just come to a place now where, man, he's my treasure. He is what I desire when I wake up, is to just know more about Jesus, to know Him in a more personal way. And the things that I've seen, the things that have happened are just, they blow my mind, because it goes right with Scripture, right with what He says, and it's just all confirmations of that decision I made at 21. So if this impacts you at all, if this speaks to you at all, I really do hope that it blesses you. I hope it encourages you, and I hope it shows you that Jesus isn't just a religion. He's a person that you can know, and you can know Him through Scripture and through prayer. And the only way you're ever going to know Him is if you allow Him to show you. So thank you guys for listening. I know this was long. I didn't want it to be, but I just went with the flow. Kind of like the creek that I'm walking next to. So again, I hope this blesses you. I hope that you take this and hear my heart in it. Yeah, thanks.